You know, have you ever wondered why some people just can't accept things at face value? Why they always have to ask why? Well, today we're going to dig into why the most brilliant minds are so often the ones who question absolutely everything, even the simplest of rules. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start with a feeling that I bet is going to be really familiar to a lot of you. It all kicks off with one simple but incredibly powerful question.
Just think about it for a second. Maybe you were in a classroom or at a new job, heck, maybe even just at the family dinner table. You ask why, not because you're trying to be a rebel, but because you genuinely need to understand. And boom, suddenly you're the difficult one. If that rings a bell at all, you're going to want to hear this next part.
Here's the big reframe. That difficult label, it's a total misunderstanding of what's actually going on. This isn't some kind of personality flaw. The truth is, it's just how your brain is wired. It's a sign that your mind is built for something called independent cognitive processing.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole mix-up. Is asking why an act of rebellion, or is it an act of reasoning? That difference right there is absolutely crucial. So here's the fundamental conflict. On one hand, the misconception is that it's just blind rebellion, mindlessly pushing back against rules just for the sake of it. But the reality? Oh, it's so much deeper. It's about systemic questioning. You're not just rejecting a rule. You're trying to take apart the entire system that built it. You have to understand the logic before you can get on board.
And you can see how this creates a natural tension, right? Most of our systems, school, the corporate ladder, you name it, they're designed to reward obedience. It just makes things run smoothly. But a highly analytical mind doesn't care about efficiency as much as it cares about understanding. It's always going to prioritize independent thought, and that's exactly where that friction comes from.
So what's really going on inside this independent mind? What's the secret sauce? Well, it pretty much boils down to three key concepts.
First up, you've got independent cognitive processing. Now that sounds pretty academic, I know, but all it really means is that you're not just a passive sponge for information. Your brain actively breaks down everything that comes in and runs it through its own internal logic filter before it'll stamp it as true.
And that, of course, leads straight to the second trait, lower conformity. And this isn't about being different just to be different. It's just that once your own internal analysis leads you to a certain conclusion, that conclusion carries way more weight than what the rest of the group thinks. Your logical conviction is just stronger than the social pressure.
And the engine that powers this whole process, that's analytical reasoning. This is the how. It's that amazing ability to look at a rule or a big idea and basically reverse engineer it in your head. You spot the patterns, you see the weak points, and you evaluate the core logic it was built on.
So you put all that together, what do you get? You get a mind that just refuses to believe something just because. A mind that has to understand the why. It's going to choose logic over tradition every single time. And ultimately, it's never about what's on the surface, it's about understanding the entire system underneath.
Now, as you can probably imagine, having a brain that works this way in a world that, well, often doesn't, it's a classic double-edged sword. It comes with some incredible upsides, but also some pretty big risks.
The reward is huge. This is where innovation comes from. I mean, think about it. The people who truly changed the world, they didn't just follow the instructions, they questioned them. They were so adaptable because they understood the system so deeply that they could actually see how to make them better or how to build something brand new.
But here's the risk. You take that same brilliant mind and you drop it into a rigid environment, like a strict hierarchy or a bureaucracy that just runs on rules for the sake of rules. Well, that amazing trait can suddenly lead to a lot of conflict. Your search for understanding can get mistaken for a challenge to authority, and that just creates frustration for everybody.
So how do you manage all this? The key is to stop seeing it as a source of conflict and start seeing it for what it really is, your cognitive superpower. It's all about learning how to use it in the right way.
Here's a really simple three-step way to think about it. First, just recognize that impulse to question. Don't push it down. See it as your analytical brain firing up. Second, seek the logic. Frame your why questions as a search for understanding, not a challenge. So instead of, why is this rule so dumb, you could try, can you help me understand the logic behind this? See the difference? And finally, value your own perspective. That different angle you have isn't a problem, it's a potential breakthrough.
So I'll just leave you with this. Your mind is literally built to take apart, analyze, and understand the world on a much deeper level. Don't ever let anyone convince you that's a bad thing. The only real question left is, what accepted truth, what clunky, inefficient system are you going to choose to look at next?